So the next thing, we'll try to understand the SD-WAN management plane and vManage. That's what we'll try to understand, one of the component of SD-WAN. Now the management plane, we know, management plane is responsible for managing your devices. So if I want to manage these devices, like whether I want to initiate a telnet or SSH, or I want to go to the GUI and make some changes to these devices, or if I want to do some kind of troubleshooting or monitoring your devices, monitor the connectivity, these are all the things we can do from either go to each and every device and go to the CLI and do it individually. But in case of SD-WAN or SDN networks, we can do it from a centralized controller. So we have a centralized controller device called vManage, and this vManage is responsible for managing the devices remotely. So here we'll be using a vManage, which is the network management station or network management system, which is going to provide a single pane of glass. Now, single pane of glass means we will be doing everything from one single options. Means you have a GUI based options, and if you want to make any changes, if you want to do any kind of troubleshooting, if you want to apply any kind of policies, or if you want to manage your softwares like upgradation, everything, or even authentication process, everything you do from a single point, from a single place. And that's what we call a single pane of glass. And with the help of vManage, we can do multiple things. Like I said, we can do something called onboarding and provisioning. And now this is just like, let's say I want to add a new device, the vManage device, and I want this vManage device to be a part of the enterprise infrastructure. Now, one option is I can go and do manual provisioning. I can go to that particular location or log into the device, and I can configure that particular device to be a part of the network, assign the IP address, everything I can do manually, or I can just do it from the vManage. Or what I can do is I can create some kind of templates, and I can push those templates, and those templates will have what will be the IP addressing to be used, what will be the routing to be configured, what will be the ACL to be configured, like that. Whatever the configurations you want to apply, those configurations can be pushed from a centralized place. So those templates we can create and we can provision from a centralized place. That's what we can do. And also we can do something called policy configuration. Now policies, we'll see how to configure these policies a little bit in detail later on. But when it comes to policies, we have two types of policies. Like we have something called routing policy. Now this routing policy is going to decide the flow of the routing updates. And there will be a data policy which is going to decide, which is going to tell how the data should flow, on which path it is going to use, whether it is going to use MPLS or whether it has to use internet, depending upon the application requirements. So we can configure those policies and we can push those policies from a single centralized place. That's what policy configuration. Apart from that, we can also do something called software management. Now, where we can identify the devices and upgrade those devices, like standard upgrades and changes we can do. Also, we can do troubleshooting and monitoring. So monitor your network, monitor the connectivity, monitor those things. And if there is any kind of connectivity issues or any device is down, you can also try to troubleshoot from a single centralized place. Means you don't need to go to each and every device to manage. You can do it everything from a single centralized place. So that's something we can do. Now again, this vManage is going to be a major component. So which means, what if this vManage is not reachable? Now in that scenarios, there will be a single point of failure. So what we can do is we can manage, we can add this vManage into clusters. Like we'll be using this vManage, like multiple vManages can be added and form as a cluster. Cluster means acting as one single device. And maybe you can place them in different locations to avoid a single point of failure, maybe one here. And you can combine these two as one, which can provide you the redundancy. At the same time, if both are working, you can also get some kind of load sharing as well. And again, also vManage uses authentication, because whenever any VH comes up, or whenever any VH is trying to connect to the vManage, or whenever the vManage is trying to communicate with any other devices in the network, it's going to use authentication as well. Now, this vManage supports multiple authentication methods like radius and TechX, just like you can use an integrated Cisco ICE for user authentication, just like you do over there. Additionally, here we'll be using something called SAML. It is referred as like Security Association Markup Language, which is a more of XML based version, XML way of exchanging the authentication and the authorization information. So what we'll be doing is later on in the labs, what we'll be doing is whenever you connect this VH device, now this VH device has to be authenticated based on some tokens, and those tokens are, we call them as serials. So it's going to use this kind of SML format for exchanging those tokens, which is a kind of authentication process which is supported here. So the vManage is responsible for responsible for multiple things, and also vManage need to make sure that it is going to be authenticated if the user is trying to connect externally as well. So if we quickly review again, there are a few more points we can add, like all the configurations will be performed within the vManage. Like here, we'll be creating some templates. Templates include specific configurations, and these templates will be pushed to the remote sites. And those all templates will be created inside the vManage. Like I said, the templates, what are exactly templates? Templates define the exact configurations or operational configurations which are required for a specific devices to work. Now that includes many things like IP addressing, routing, and other things, whatever is required. Okay. So again, you have a template tab. When you log into the vManage, there will be a template tab here. From that template tab, we can configure the devices, we can create the templates, and we can assign these templates to the devices. Now also we will identify the devices and will assign them to the specific devices. What else we do? We also do some policies. Now policies will decide how the traffic will flow based on the application requirement. We can push those policies from the vManage, and these policies is going to affect the data plane traffic, how the traffic should be forwarded. It's going to affect that data plane traffic as it moves between the devices. Apart from that, from the vManage, we can also do other things, like we can control the things like network topology. Like generally you have this network design. Let's say you want to add a new device. Probably what we can do is we have a screen, and from that screen, I can add a new device, or I can remove this device. I can connect this device to the existing network. So just like we do a physical connectivity, so whenever you want to add a new device, you actually manage or control the things from a screen inside the vManage. So inside the vManage, you can add the circuits, you can add the branch offices, and you can add the data centers to the existing network topology, or you can remove the devices and you can attach the devices to the existing network. Again, how we'll do exactly we'll see when we get into the labs, but there are multiple things we do. Additionally, you can add some quality of service policies or security policies as well. And also we do troubleshooting and monitoring. Already I discussed that. You can monitor, you can troubleshoot from here. Now, what else I can do is from the vManage, we can also simulate some traffic flow as well. We can simulate the traffic flow, and this simulation of the traffic flow will help us in troubleshooting. So if there is any kind of WAN related issues, or if there is any kind of configuration related issues, probably we can simulate those traffics from here, and we can verify, we can troubleshoot. We can also verify the configurations and the routing tables of all the devices by sitting in one place. So if you want to check the routing table, you don't need to go and say show IP route on this router. By sitting here, I can connect this device and I can issue a command here itself, where I can get the routing table information directly on the centralized device without going to each and every device. You can get that information, you can get the configuration information, routing table information, show outputs, everything from a centralized place here.